Hey everyone, there are stories you hear about people buying insane stuff with their money, which you might want as well. But it's easy to forget that sometimes it really is an impulsive buy that I haven't even considered if they're going to need or use it. Like, it's funny how no matter where you are on the spectrum of wealth, everyone still has the same desire to buy useless stuff. I actually feel like someone with more money can buy something that would be a bigger waste than someone with less money. Like a house or a mansion, for example. Someone can buy a place that they won't even live in and then be forced to sell it because over time, the debt starts growing. Not to mention how often people forget to pay their taxes and just leave it off until they're actually forced to pay it or go to jail. The funny thing is that it really wouldn't be that hard to manage your money, and a lot of actors have, but it just seems that these are the unfortunate or dumb ones.
Johnny Depp was spending $360,000 a year on wine bottles, while Nicolas Cage's bankruptcy included 9.
Wait, on wine or just empty bottles?
Island. However, there are few actor bankruptcies stranger than Kim Basinger's, who thought it was smart to pay $20 million
Kim?
for
From Better Call Saul?
country town. Braselton, Georgia had only 2 shops and 500 local residents, one of which describing the town by stating, "Breading chicken is about the most exciting thing we do around here," which made the reason for Kim's purchase even more stupid. She planned on turning the town into a Hollywood tourist attraction by building a major film and recording studio with the added bonus of a theme park, homes and shopping centers at a time when Braselton's economic conditions were so atrocious. Another local resident stated, "If we talk about the economy, everybody gets depressed." Given the real Hollywood was on the other
That feels
side.
like a job for a mayor. I mean, I'm not saying that was nice. I'm not saying that was horrible of her, but that sounds like so much money required that would make her bankrupt.
$7 million loss, and the alienation of her entire family who'd also bought into the project. The stress from the town's failure then caused Kim to pull out.
Also, what a bizarre, remedy for a town that's slowly dying. A film studio that's really gonna boost up the economy.
She was starring in, prompting the producers to successfully sue her for $8.9 million, which Kim couldn't pay.
You had to declare bankruptcy. You made everything and then lost everything.
Lost everything. Every single thing.
Okay, you don't have to push in the face live on camera.
Wesley Snipes' bankruptcy was so brutal, it also put him in prison. He'd earned over $50 million from a range of different roles, although despite purchasing an Aston Martin Vanquish, as well as mansions in both Florida and New Jersey, Wesley refused to lodge a single tax return over a 7-year period, and was therefore ordered to pay the IRS $23.5 million. Wesley tried to...
I should have expected there's gonna be like an IRS story in this video. It's only natural.
Of the United States despite being born there.
He knew he had to pay the
I think
taxes.
a requirement to be famous in Hollywood is of course to have talent, but also have no idea about taxes.
Making the IRS Form 1040 absolutely the wrong form for me to file. He also claimed taxes withheld were stolen funds, whilst adding the IRS deceives people to terrorize, enslave, rape or pillage taxpayers. Although confronting the IRS
It's very
was a very
strong language.
strategy, as Wesley was immediately charged with 6 counts of willfully failing to file federal income tax returns, for which he was given a federal prison sentence.
Wesley Snipes gets 3 years behind bars.
In 2018, 5 years after being released from prison, Wesley Snipes still hadn't paid $1 toward his tax bill and would try to settle the $23.5 million debt by instead offering the IRS $842,000, which they understandably rejected. Wesley then tried arguing economic hardship, but the court said no to that too, instead dropping his tax bill to $9.5 million, which it seems he hasn't paid either. Avoiding a tax bill for 15
What a
years might
child.
almost make him a genius.
That's a godsend from 23 million. I want to see what movies he was in, because I feel like I've seen his face and heard his name, but I can't really think of any movies I've seen him in. Yeah, okay, so Blade, Demolition Man, The Expendables, maybe like some more popular in the 80s or 90s, Coming to America. Okay, no, that was his real culture fame. Wow, okay. So he was somewhat big, so you can't really say economic hardship that really stopped you from paying your taxes. It's probably one of those things that he left it up piles for so long that really accumulate to be that much. I mean, taxes are normally a lot, but I really want to see how much it would have costed if he, from the beginning of his career, he paid it off every year as opposed to just pushing it off until the IRS had to investigate it. I have no idea how you can become so popular and rich from just acting and still have no idea how bad it is to not pay your taxes. They're not gonna let that, they're not gonna ignore that.
Anywhere. Reality television was the source of her wealth, appearing in The Hills, Big Brother, and I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Outta Here. Although when these types of shows
she British?
completely disappeared, Heidi instead began recording
Oh, yeah,
music,
British, Heidi.
spending $2 million on her very first album. She'd state, "I put every dollar I have into this. I've spent over $1
she not
million and almost $2 million on this album. It's cost as much or more than a Britney Spears album because I wanted it to be that quality. The songs will make an impact in pop history. It sold only 1,000 copies. In case losing $2 million on a worthless album wasn't bad enough, she'd talk about her daily life by stating, every time we'd go out to eat, we'd order $4,000 bottles of wine. Heidi was going to the mall and dropping $20,000 to $30,000 a day. We thought we were Jay-Z and Beyonce. Heidi's outrageous spending was justified because we heard that the planet was going to end in 2012. We thought we had
I forgot about that, yeah. I mean, I wasn't born. I was alive around then, but I wasn't like that big of a dumbass as a kid. Do you believe in that?
Heidi faked a divorce with her husband, who explained the split was designed to create fresh interest in his wife for a potential British TV project. Divorcing was the only way to keep Heidi's career going, although this failed to do anything. Heidi Montag had
what a cheap way to get everyone to focus on you. Look at me, I'm getting divorced, wow. I'm one of the few women in the world that's getting divorced, look at me.
All of which could have easily been learned by researching Nicolas Cage. National Treasure had brought his net worth to $150 million, prompting him to spend $25 million on a waterfront primary residence, although Nick also felt the need to buy a holiday home. He'd therefore spend a further...
I'm sorry for this because I know a little bit of what he bought and it's ridiculous. Compared to the last 3 or 2, it really is like a different league.
Also picking up an $8.5 million apartment for his weekends away in Las Vegas. But what about his weekends in...
You can only buy an apartment?
$3 million on his own private island, but this didn't do anything for his trips to Europe.
How's an island cheaper than an apartment?
$12.3 million on 2 medieval castles, where he'd spend huge sums on enormous Gatsby-style parties. By 2007, Nicolas Cage had bought 15 different houses, where he'd keep his 26 different vehicles, including 4 yachts, 9 Rolls Royces, and a nearly $3 million vintage Bugatti. Although this wasn't as old as his...
That sucks. I like to imagine in all of those houses, they just have like Hispanic families living in them. Because of course, when you buy a house, you're not gonna let it rot over time with bugs infested over the place.
Kept next to a bookshelf holding a $150,000 Superman comic. Throughout the houses lived a $150,000 pet octopus, an $80,000 two-headed snake, and a pair of albino king cobras that set him back $150,000.
That's so worthless. If he paid me money to live in his house, I would eat that octopus so quickly.
Finally concluding his crazy spending spree just months before the global financial crisis.
The real estate market crashed and I couldn't get out in time.
At around the same time, he began receiving fewer high-paying roles, and with 6 different loans on his Bel Air mansion, plus mortgages on every other property, Nicolas Cage was headed toward bankruptcy. By 2009, he owed a further $6.2 million in unpaid taxes, forcing him to sell almost everything, most of which at a loss. His $15 million Rhode Island mansion resold for...
Don't list off all the houses. It's gonna be miserable.
$276,000 dinosaur skull was taken by the government after they discovered it was originally stolen.
When the Mongolian government said that they needed it back, I gave it to them, but I never got my money back.
Nick launched a $20 million lawsuit against his former manager, stating, Cage discovered that he is now forced to sell major assets and investments at a significant loss and is faced with huge tax liabilities, although his manager clapped back by claiming he advised Cage against buying a Gulfstream jet, against buying and owning a flotilla of yachts, against buying and owning a squadron of Rolls Royces, and against buying millions of dollars in jewelry and art. The lawsuit was eventually dismissed as ridiculous, forcing Nick to take on low-quality acting roles purely...
Forcing Nick to take in bees.
It may not have been blue chip, but it would still work.
When asked how much has money driven your work choices, Nick stated there are times when it's more of a factor than not, before adding, I had this pride thing where I wanted to work my way through anything, which Nicolas Cage has since done quite successfully, unlike Randy Quaid, who gave up Hollywood.
Back to that story about his advisor, telling him to not spend millions on all of that stuff. I feel like being like a manager for that kind of person is worthless, because when someone already has the idea or desire to buy that kind of stuff, there was like little to zero room to convince them otherwise. Because some people really have that niche taste where they only want it because it's expensive and they really don't care. Like they really can't imagine the hindsight of buying it and realizing like, wow, this was a huge waste of money. But of course, when you're young, you have like a huge influx of money coming out of nowhere. Like he said, that one movie really boosted his net worth. You really get that excitement of being able to buy whatever you want, even without like knowing how bad it's gonna f you over. Those houses I can understand. Most people want to have nice houses and look quite decent. I'm trying to figure out at what point I would be. If I was in his shoes, I'd be like, this is moronic. Honestly, the two houses was fine. It was a dinosaur skull that made no sense. What worth does that have? Unless you plan to sell it to a museum after. But even then, I'd much rather, I don't want to take the risk of knowing that at one point someone is going to sell it to a museum and it's going to become, worthless.
He would to chase conspiracy, bankruptcy, and all-round insanity. I'm back! By appearing in Independence Day, Brokeback Mountain, and every National Lampoon movie, Randy Quaid became a multi-millionaire.
I have earned approximately $40 million throughout my career.
However, despite winning a Golden Globe and being nominated for an Oscar, Randy's career came to a screeching halt halfway through 2009. Why? Well, it began after he and his wife were arrested for trying to use a fake card to pay a $10,000 hotel bill, after which both refused to appear in court.
Oh yeah, he definitely has 40 million of his career.
Arrested, this time for squatting inside a vacant house they'd previously owned. However, things only got weirder from here. Randy and his wife began to claim they were being chased by a group called Star Whackers who were trying to kill Hollywood celebrities.
How many people do you know personally who have died suddenly and mysteriously in the past 5 years?
While also claiming
0, but I definitely believe someone if they told me they were being chased and on the verge of being killed by the tax whatever it's called. Whenever someone's backed up in a corner by financial issues, they really can come up with like incredible ideas of what's causing the issue.
Finances.
If things keep going the way they are, and we don't do something about it to expose these people, my wife and I will be out on the street. And we'll have nothing to eat. Okay, that's how bad it is.
He's like, okay, yeah, fine, shut up, Andy.
Where he'd begin to upload his conspiracies to YouTube.
A day of reckoning is nigh. Wake up!
After which he was arrested for a third time whilst trying to sneak back into America.
The Oscar-nominated actor and his wife in jail this morning after being arrested at the Canadian border in Vermont.
Exactly where Randy's 40 million went isn't entirely clear.
He looks like Charles Manson. That's scary.
About how she spent her fortune on lawyers. After gaining international stardom for appearing in Gossip Girl, Kelly had 2 kids with a German man who wasn't a US citizen. The couple divorced in 2009 and began to argue about custody, with a judge ruling the kid should live with their father.
I have nothing against it, but I love this like stock footage of people fighting. Like, I don't like you. It looked so funny.
The children have to be in now France.
Yes.
The situation was so strange and unique, Kelly spent every penny she had trying to regain custody.
I love these vulture-like journalists that whenever they hear like a minute bit of news, like someone getting divorced, they immediately flash someone in their eyes with massive cameras. So like, can you not give them a break?
Everything I've ever made, everything.
And as a result, she filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy midway through the court case, having assets worth only $24,000 compared to liabilities totaling $2 million. On top of this, Kelly owed more than $350,000 in back taxes, $25,000 in Amex charges, and had a monthly income of just under $1,300. Although despite spending everything she'd ever earned, her efforts failed to impact the court's final choice.
Gossip Girl star Kelly Rutherford stunned and fighting back tears after losing a bitter custody battle today.
Oh my god, that's actually heartbreaking.
Out of complete necessity, whereas Johnny Depp spending $650 million was nothing.
Okay, that depressing story gave me a really funny story with Jack Sparrow.
Actor by the Guinness Book of Records, although despite earning $900 million over a 13-year period, he spent the money so poorly Conan O'Brien joked that he must have gotten financial advice from Nicolas Cage. Similar to Cage, Depp purchased 14 different
Cuba around the corner, you made me laugh.
Bahamian private island, multiple countryside mansions, and a $60 million village in France, although it was Johnny Depp's day-to-day expenses that might have been even crazier. A 2017 lawsuit revealed he was burning $2 million a month on $200,000 for a private jet, $150,000 on security for himself and his family, $300,000 on staff including 40 full-time employees, and $30,000 on wine, which was confirmed during his trial with Amber Heard.
Okay, if I was a financial advisor, I would go back and one of these would have to be gone. And to be honest, I'd say this one. You don't need your family to be safe in a huge mansion that people want to steal. Okay, you'll be fine.
Purchase was when he spent $3 million on his friend Hunter S. Thompson's funeral by firing his ashes out of a rocket-like cannon. Just like Nicolas Cage, Johnny Depp tried to sue his management company TMG, although they'd respond with their own lawsuit stating Depp chose time and again to ignore TMG and all of his other advisors. Depp truly has no one but himself to blame for his current financial and personal circumstances.
What the? Oh, is that the end of the video? Gee, that was very abrupt. Okay, I guess that is the end, you know. I love how whenever people like get like insanely rich, you know, to be fair, when you have like that accolade of being like the most paid actor in Hollywood in the Guinness Book of World Records, like that has to go to your head a little bit. But with all the people in this video, apart from the mom that got gutted with the divorce fees, you definitely tell they were gonna go bankrupt, like even before they declared it, because of how much money they spend every month on the dumbest stuff possible. I feel like it's a combination of that and the stuff they ignore, like the actual important stuff, like either taxes or actual expenses that they let pile up. And so someone's like, okay, you have to pay it or you get arrested, which by that point is so much they have to declare that they're bankrupt because they really can't pay it. But apart from buying dumb stuff like Nicolas Cage, I feel like taxes is the second biggest reason why people go to jail, or not go to jail, but like become bankrupt or have to sell most of the stuff, because that really is one person or entity you can't fight against. Where you can't come up with like cheap reasons to like explain why you couldn't pay it off, like Wesley Snipes. And even if you don't like get sent to jail, you have to like find other ways to make that money back. Like I'm pretty sure that's why you only see Nicolas Cage in like tiny movies that you barely see or hear about like at theaters. So you only see them on like Amazon Prime. No, sorry, I'm thinking of Brendan Fraser. Yeah, that's the other guy that it wasn't tax, it was more of the divorce, which allowed him to like accept every single role so he can make some money back, because he was divorced at the peak of his career and he was like settled to pay back a certain amount every month. Out he got so much that he had to star in any movie he can just to make the money, which to be honest is kind of like a bad example because that was like out of his control. But with the people that just buy dumb stuff like a car, I can say buying a car, but there's like other minute stuff like buying a private jet when they barely use it, or buying more than just free homes. I mean, it just purely boils down to just being so bored and having so much money. You want to buy it off just like boredom. So if I was in a situation, I probably would just spend my money on dumb stuff and just patiently wait for my outcome where I get sent to jail for not being able to pay my taxes. I feel like that might happen to me if I had that much money, you know?